Welcome to the Martial Arts with Jake podcast. Hear from the best martial artists and combat sports athletes from around the world. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy today's episode. Yes, guys, welcome to another episode of the Martial Arts with Jake podcast. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by one of the best MMA fighters to come out of Britain. He's currently signed to Bellator, Mr. Tim Wilde. Welcome to the podcast, bro.
Thank you for having me, mate. Thanks. Good to be here.
Thank you. How's things anyway? I know you're recovering from the knee injury. How's it all going with that?
It's going well. I've just this afternoon seen my surgeon for my 6-month kind of post-op assessment review, and he's super happy, very positive. Come away, give me the green light to kind of really push back into the grappling and wrestling side of martial arts. So yeah, it's all progressing nicely, and I'm on track to. We set a goal for 1 year after my surgery to be able to fight at that point, and we're really on track to it. So halfway there.
Well, at the end of this year, you're hoping to get back into the cage then?
So yeah, before the end of the year for sure, but 1 year post-op, and I had my operation in September the 23rd. Yeah. So around September time, I'll see him for kind of my 1 year assessment. That should be hopefully the last time I ever have to see him. With the greatest respect. And then but I'll be ready to fight at that point. I'll keeping myself fit, as you see, and stuff. So yeah, we'll just take a fight, and I'll only want 4 weeks notice or something, and just get in there. So,
mate, to be fair, I saw that video that was posted yesterday of your recovery. It is inspirational, mate, and I think for young athletes watching, like the dedication you're going to put to it to kind of recover from that injury and where you're at now, and it's just your mindset to get over it, mate. It was really inspirational to watch. I absolutely loved it, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate. I've seen that you shared it. I really appreciate that. It's a bit amateurish, the video. I've done it myself, but it's actually turned out quite good. Like I've had early on in the rehab, when I first finished the surgery, like come home, like for the first 2-4 weeks, I was kind of like not bedbound, but I couldn't get about much. So I had a lot of time. So I thought, I'm going to try and learn something. So I taught myself a little bit how to do it. So it's amateurish, obviously, but I kind of crop it together quite nice. And I wanted to be able to give people who follow me a bit of an insight in what it takes to do it. So not just that video, but hopefully I've given that for people in the last 6 months. I was talking to my friend earlier, a training partner, and the best way I can describe it is like a really hard fight camp, but an extended version of it. It's like every day the routine, I have to do the same, and it's hard, and I don't even get the perks at the fight at the end of it. Well, hopefully I do in 6 months, but I lost my train of thought there. I thought I was going to say that was it. Sorry. Yeah. So with a fight camp, obviously I get to spar and wrestle and have fun. Like these last 6 months, all I've been able to do is rehabilitation for my knee, and I included some gymnastics in that because I had the time to do it. So. Yeah.
I suppose that's really tested your mental strength and really shown that you do have the love for the sport. I know you've got to get healthy anyway. You've got that mindset you want to get back in there ASAP. So how's it been mentally for you, kind of getting over that massive injury?
To be honest, it's been the most challenging thing I've had to do, till this point in my life. And I've had some very hard challenges, having a child and fighting and going through different personal issues, but it's so testing. It's such a test of character. It really, really does. It makes you. How can I put it? It would sieve out the people who don't really want it for sure. And do you know what's been hard with this? I'm doing this during a pandemic as well, so. Yeah. I haven't even had a gym. I haven't had a gym to train in since December. People forget that. Now I'm lucky I've got a bit of equipment. I'll say I've got a bit of equipment. It's actually my girlfriend's, and it is like, as you can imagine, not proper gym stuff. But it's just been enough to be able to do enough to get me through. So not only trying to deal with this pandemic that everybody's tried to deal with, trying to rehabilitate my knee. So hopefully that's, show people how bad I want it,
Yeah. It'll make things a lot sweeter as well, mate, when you look back, when you get that fight hopefully in the end, and then you look back of how far you've come. Like, what a story to tell, and like just inspiration for like the upcoming fighters at the gym, etc. And for your son,
Yeah.
mate, and for your son to show what he can achieve and obstacles that he can face to get over.
Well, that's it now. He's his age now. He's very attuned and aware to everything that goes on. It was making me laugh this morning. You know, I remember my dad was making a joke about just basically saying a word funny, like instead of saying massive, he was saying massive. And he said it a few times, and my son was going, "No, it's massive, it's massive." Anyway, he's not said it and nothing for 3 weeks. Today, he made us all burst into tears laughing because he just come out with. He was talking about fighting some bad guys, and this bad guy was massive. So, like everything, he might not like say or react on everything instantly, but he takes everything in at that age. You know, they're like a sponge. So I have to set a good example to him. I want him to see that, you know, how I want him to grow up to be.
Would you like your son to be involved in martial arts his whole life? Is that your aim? One of.
I make a few jokes with his mom. Like, me and his mom aren't together, but we get on very well. And I make jokes to him that for me, he has to do a martial art until he's 18. He won't have any choice in that. I hope that he just kind of does it because I do it and he wants to be involved. He already does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, so I'd like, out of all the martial arts I've trained, I'd like him to keep that for sure. He has to learn a language and he has to learn a musical instrument. So, but yeah, it's but definitely the martial arts. He has to be physical, like as you know yourself. Training gives you so much more, you know. And this is what, before we started, I was talking about. I was straight on the phone to Neil because, you know, yeah, jiu-jitsu is great and getting better at jiu-jitsu is great, but I get so much mentally, physically, emotionally from training and grappling and wrestling, and that's what I've really missed the most.
Yeah.
I've been striking for the last couple of months, so I'm glad to have that back in my arsenal now. So, as I say, I've had the green light now, so I'll start grappling next week.
Yeah. I thought it was quite interesting as well because on about the Joe Rogan before, weren't we, with GSP? And obviously he's probably the best all time. He's my favourite fighter, but like he's still travelling now, training. Like I think he's off to Puerto Rico now, training like the Danaher Death Squad. And he was saying like without martial arts in his life, this is like it affects his confidence or something along the lines of that. So I thought that was quite an interesting thing. Like he when he's not got it, he's achieved, like he's reached the top of the mountain, and but he still gets that cravings and misses his training, which I find quite like still inspirational.
Yeah, I think if you are a true martial artist and you do it, you know, you will be involved in martial arts all your life. I think when you're done fighting, if you don't have another way of kind of venting the you know, what you need from it, then you're going to struggle. And you do see, unfortunately, fighters keep trying to fight for too long, and also kind of going off the rails a little bit with drinking problems, drugs and stuff. So I think you know, you got to I would say 90% of people keep their toe in the sport, you know. Even Tyson, he fought and he stopped, and he didn't train at all. He was like the opposite. He didn't want to do anything. I remember watching him on Joe Rogan. He was like, I can't do it because it flares up this demon inside me, this ego, you know. And I start thinking I can do it, and then he's back in and fighting again. You know, the age he is now. So I think it never leaves you. The love for it never leaves you.
Especially when you've been doing it for so long. So when did you start training then, Tim?
I started Shotokan karate when I was 8 years old. So I'm 33 now. So I've been in martial arts for 21 years. Is that right? No? That's terrible maths in it. I'm not sure. I've been in it a long time.
I'm trying to think now. My brain's going. I can't think either.
Yeah, it's because we're on the spot. It's it's about 25, 26 years. I've been in martial arts. So, but started at 8 years old. And yeah, my mum and dad kind of encouraged me into it. I was very much into sports, but I didn't do martial arts. I got picked on a little bit, you know, with the red hair, nothing major, but it kind of knocks your confidence a bit. So because I was sporty and athletic, I always kind of still got on all right and did all right. But then once I got into martial arts, like my confidence and just self-belief and discipline just skyrocketed.
Do you think, because obviously we're both ginger-haired, mate, do you think that the martial arts and being involved in sport kind of gave that confidence anyway, kind of like walking around with your head held high, all that kind of time? Because, you know, a lot of ginger kids, mate, unfortunately, they do get picked on, don't they? Which is unfortunate, mate. But do you think
the martial arts gave that kind of confidence to walk around with your head held high and the whole time?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a lot. We're unique, or we're
Mate,
not
less than 2% of the world population, aren't we?
Well, yeah. So special instead, I like to think.
Yeah.
But I think kids are just nasty anyway, and they'll find
Yeah.
anything to pick someone on somebody about, tall, small, thin, fat, whatever it be. But yeah, we're unfortunate. We're very unique that we have red hair. But like, for me, it just gave me that confidence to not not be intimidated by a bully. And do you know what? The fact that, yeah, don't get me wrong, I didn't walk around thinking, oh God, I'm hard as nails or anything like that. But it was just like, I knew if there come a situation, I was much more confident and ready for that situation. And yeah, it trains that, I think, that fight or flight kind of thing out there. Like I was ready to stand up for myself, and I was confident. Whereas, perhaps before I might have shied away from it or not said anything. So it definitely helped me, for sure.
I think for me as well, being ginger, like you stand out. So I personally, I mean, basketball, as well as martial arts sport, basketball is my sport. Played football, but I use my hair colour to my advantage. Because if I perform well, you're going to get spotted. Do you know what I mean? Because we stand out naturally because of our hair colour, but like if you perform well, you stand out more, especially like being 6'4". But yeah.
I mean, you're taller than me, but you're right. Like I was quite tall as well. I'm 6 foot, and you do stand out. And I remember going out drinking at bars, kind of like 18, 19, 20, whatever. And I was used to think, oh, do I stand out or something? But you do. I think you get spotted before anything because, like you say, we're unique as such. But you just the martial arts definitely gives you that confidence to not even care about it, really. I wouldn't entertain kind of getting into a fight, especially now, like with the way it is now. But I would feel much more comfortable and confident in a situation.
Yeah.
If it occurred.
Was you competing early age then in Shotokan karate? Was it kind of like tournament based?
Yes, very much so. I've been super competitive with everything I am now, and that's in all areas of life. And I see it in my son so much. It would be a case of who can get up the stairs quickest, me and my little brother, and it was just everything. It was everything, and it's helped me massively. It's allowed me to achieve great things in sport and other areas of my life. But yeah, so kind of 2 to 3 years into Shotokan karate, it was around 11, 12. Kind of just started competing just nationally. I think by about 12, 13, I'd won a couple of 3 British titles, or like competitions, and I got picked to go and fight in the European Championships, which were in Denmark, and I won them at 13 or 14, which then got me picked and seeded into the World Championships. But I got disqualified. It was a funny story, but in a nutshell, too much contact, supposedly. The guy kind of dived a little bit. It was in South Africa. 14, getting flying around the world, competing martial arts was awesome. And yeah, I was 14, 15. And this kid, I scored a head kick, Jordan Washigeri, 2 points, Ippon. I'm like cheered, and he's like dived, kind of like a second later, rolled around the floor, got me disqualified, but then was okay enough to continue and went on and won it. So I was devastated. So I was expected to win that, but I'm losing as well, in martial arts. So I'm grateful for that experience.
But that's amazing though. That young, flying around the world competing, mate. It felt like a bit of like a local celeb as well, local papers, all that kind of stuff for your tournaments.
Yeah, we was on ITV Midlands Today. I was always in the Express and Star. I was quite a good level at Shotokan karate, and I think it gave me a great base to head into mixed martial arts. Yeah. Although when I come into mixed martial arts, I thought I was handy. soon got found out. My first month, I got a cauliflower ear off Vaughan Lee, and Vaughan Lee fought at 57. He's the tiniest, loveliest, real great guy, but tiniest of blokes, and he smashed me up. And at the time, I was about 16 stone as well. He just molded me like butter, because I didn't know how to fight. I thought I did, but yeah, it's good.
Did you find the style from the Shotokan kind of certain aspects of it transferred over to MMA, or did you kind of find it was separate, or was it like the kicks, etc., that kind of transferred into MMA? Because I know, mate, you've had some amazing knockouts. The spinning heel kicks, mate, one of the best knockouts ever.
Cheers, mate. The footwork definitely, the footwork and movement. So when I started MMA around 10 years ago now, it was very much like the Chuck Liddells, and it was like the Wanderlei Silvers, who were very much like Thai, and you know how MMA is today with like the Adesanyas and the John Jones, the way they move and the way the striking's more unorthodox. I kind of started like that. Now, I'm not saying I started it. Like, it'd be great to think I did, but I didn't, obviously. But MMA has evolved to be more like how I was anyway when I started.
Yeah.
And my previous coach, John Roberts, he was very good at molding my style and applying it. You know, he didn't try and change me and say, no, you have to have your hands here. You have to stand like this, come forward and this certain way. You have to bob and weave like a boxer. So he allowed me to play with it, and we really adapted a good style for me. And then I've just worked on it. And I still go and see, like, I watched your podcast with Damien Trainer. He's my striking coach now. I still work with him, tightening it all up, getting the power and the kicks and everything. But no, I don't think anyone will ever be able to stop me being as kind of elusive and as wild as I am, because it's inbred. It's like ingrained in me from since I was 7, 8 years old with the Shotokan karate. So I have like a long stance as well, which you've probably noticed, which and that's the style of karate that I do, Shotokan karate. It was known for having low, deep, long stances, whereas Wadaru karate was more shorter stance up on the balls of your feet. I remember early amateur fights. We used to throw a 1 and 2, like a straight backhand to the body. That was the highest scoring technique in Shotokan karate. And I remember amateur fights just thinking, what the hell am I doing here? Like, what's going on? And just throwing these karate techniques and them landing and working. So it's definitely gave me a good base for my martial arts today.
Well, you wouldn't want to change your style, would you, completely? Again, you add new tools to the arsenal, but you won't want to change it that's got you this far. You know what I mean? Completely restructure your game, especially if it's working for you as well, mate. You've had some cracking fights, and again, your latest win against Charlie Leary.
Yeah, Charlie's tough. It was a good fight. He's a serious veteran. He is, and a really nice guy as well. But yeah, just if you're fighting Tim Wilde, you know what you're fighting. You're gonna have a stand-up fight. You're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to get me on the ground, or you have to do something spectacular and catch me to knock me out. You know, as happened. A couple of my fights I got knocked out, but I would say if you look at, I think I've had about 17, 18 fights. If you look over all of the fights, I've dominated everyone striking. Really, I've never, I haven't been all smashed up and cuts and teeth knocked out, nothing like that. Like, still beautiful. So man, it's it works. So why fix it if it's not broke?
Mate, you're gonna be one of the best strikers in MMA. I remember our jiu-jitsu coach Neil was saying, like, you hit like a mule. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that ginger power, mate.
It is, mate.
I have got very heavy hands, especially my straight shots. And again, I put that back to the Shotokan karate. You know, I'd never thrown a hook punch, maybe in a pub fight or something, but I'd never thrown a hook punch until I started MMA. You know,
really?
Which I started, when I was 22. You don't really do them in karate, not in my style anyway. It was all straight line, angles, straight lines, lots of kicking, and like my kicking, my kicking game's good, but my straight shots they are quite ballistic. Yeah, I've been told that by a lot of coaches that have worked with me.
So what made you get into MMA then, mate? So you started off Shotokan karate. What made you go from there to the MMA world?
Well, I did Shotokan karate until about 19. And then, like, I was doing an apprenticeship with a firm to be an electrician, and I started working away and stuff. So I had a couple of years away from martial arts where I started lifting weights and just kind of just being a typical lad of that age, partying a bit too much and whatnot. And, I come back working local, set up a business with my dad, and I just missed martial arts. I thought I'm going to get back into it. And I went and tried Shotokan karate again and just didn't take to it. I felt a bit heavy. I was getting. I'd actually got disqualified from a couple of local competitions for too much contact, and I felt like I was a man now, and I was craving that contact, you know. So I thought I'll go and try boxing. So I tried boxing, didn't really like it. Tried a bit of kickboxing, tried a few different martial arts, and then I saw The Ultimate Fighter, the first one. I think someone bought. I think like an ex-girlfriend bought me the DVD, the very first season, and I was watching him, and I was like, I can do this. I definitely can do this. I want to try this. So I just looked for a gym, and just started up in Cannock at UTC Staffs. And yeah, I think I'm 23. I must have been about 22, 23. And I literally just fell in love with it. It went from working full time as a business, and me and my dad had a very successful business. We had about 10 electricians work for us. It was going really well. You know, I had my own house at that point, 23. So, it went from working 7 days a week, doing that, training a couple of times a week, to training 7 days a week, working a couple of hours a week, you know. And that it changed to that over the space of about 5 years. Just fell in love with it, mate.
Was that fight, weren't it? It was Stephen Bonner against Forrest Griffin, weren't it?
That's the one, mate.
Yeah. I remember seeing a documentary on that, and they're saying that was the fight that kind of exploded it to the world, really, because of just how it was amazing.
100%, mate. One of the greatest fights, you know, one of the greatest fights ever. And you watch it back now, and you think, God, they were that good, was they? But just because of the way the sport has evolved, there was, and they are, and such respect for them. You know, when I watched it, I was in awe. And then, as I said, when I went and tried it, and Vaughan Lee kicked my ass, I just thought, bloody hell, like it was eye-opening for me. And again, that competitiveness inside me was like, I can't be having a 60-kilo guy beat me up, right? That's it. So I just threw myself straight into it, mate. Loved it. Still do.
I suppose they said back in the day as well, it was like there were fighters, weren't there, that like had to become athletes. Would you say nowadays it's more athletes that become fighters?
There's definitely more knowledge available to fighters to be able to be like that. You still get some of the kind of just lads that are just tough and they're just hard, whatever. But yeah, I think back then the strength and conditioning probably didn't look anything like it did today. I know you've had Chris Meyer on; he's a really knowledgeable guy and stuff. But I feel like it's taking a bit of a turn again. I don't know about you. I keep my eye on stuff that's going on social media and stuff. I'm not very good with technology, but I do follow some really interesting, good people. And I feel like I'm starting to, like, I've seen Darren Till post about it, saying like nowadays too many fighters are and the McGregor, that's another good example, but we'll get to that. Too many fighters are all concerned about their conditioning, their fitness, the heart rate monitors, how many hours sleep they get. Whereas really, you just want to get on the mat, do it twice a day. Just be doing MMA twice a day, every day, and that's how you evolve quick. So there's arguments for both ways, really. But I think when you go back 10 years to when I seen it and fell in love with it, they were quite one-dimensional, weren't they? They were a striker, or they were a wrestler, or you know, they only had a little bit of each other game. Whereas now you just see more complete fighters, and like rugby players. You know, 10 years ago, rugby players were like pub blokes. Now they're like elite athletes, aren't they? So the sport's just evolved.
I suppose really you're gonna have that some sort of dog in you though, because it's the toughest sport in the world. Think about it, really. And the amount you're going to put into it, mate, you know yourself what you've done, what you're going through at the minute. It's the toughest sport in the world. Constant training, say 3 times a day. Your diet's got to be good. All the sacrifices you've got to make. So you've got to have that fighter inside of you. But like you said, the technology's got better to kind of look at Ronaldo football, mate. He's just a specimen, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
absolutely, mate. I seen a tweet or something interesting. Maybe it was on Instagram with McGregor. He talked about how McGregor fast this, and you know he's got this whole team spent $1 million on his camp, whatever, behind him. And then I seen him put out something recently that what he's going to do, like to get to the UFC, he went and like lived with his sister-in-law or his cousin or something in their flat, and it was just go to the gym, train with the lads, go home, eat, sleep, go to the gym, train. And he just did that for 8 weeks. And then that's what got him to be the champion. So, I think I've seen Chris talk about it. Your strength and conditioning should be there, but the main thing should be you should be training martial arts and bettering your skill level every day.
Yeah.
But as regards to having that inside you, I agree totally. And I think, I know from personally fighters, and I won't name them, but who are great fighters and skillful and athletes, but they haven't got that edge about them, that bit of streak, like a bit of nastiness. And to be honest, to say it bluntly, you have to want to hurt someone. And that's can take you to quite a dark place, really, when you think about it, what you're actually saying.
Yeah.
But see, I've not been in massive trouble with anything like that with like police, or I've had a few scraps and whatever, but I've always found that like with that fight or flight, I'm always fight, and it's like I've like I can turn it on. If I need to dig deep in a fight, I can turn it on. I can turn it off. And do you know what I mean? And it helps me control. I find that since starting MMA, I can really control my mood, and I'm so chilled out. I'm so chilled out all the time, and it's really helped me with that. Like, whereas perhaps as a teenager and stuff, I used to lose my rag, or an early adult, young adult, I would lose my rag easily and blow up and argue with partners. And I think I've had a row for the last 5 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in with the missus, or whatever. So yeah, it's maybe that's just getting older as well, though. I'm 33 now, so maybe I'm growing up.
You get that release, don't you, mate? It's that constant contact, and you're not going to war every single day, but you're battling every single day, mate, taking your body to its limits and mentally.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing more humbling than rolling with a guy that's half your age or half your size or twice your age, and and just getting smashed up.
It's great, isn't it?
It's like it, but then just having a laugh about it and just and then doing it to another young kid who, it's like, I just love it, mate. I love martial arts. I know that when I'm done fighting, whenever that may be, I shall have a gym and I shall pass on the knowledge that I've learned. And I can see me. Neil's always on to me about getting my gi on, and I do put it on now and again. But I can see me going more down that route, because I think you can compete to an older age in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, not perhaps as such an elite level, but I don't think I'll ever lose that competitiveness. So if I can, maybe if I'm done fighting at 40 MMA, I can keep fighting till I'm 50 or 60 in a gi, then I will.
Mate, absolutely. Like one of the best martial artists in the UK, Rick Young, he's still going out traveling to like the US and competing at the World Championships and in the Masters levels, mate. He's hit the high level in pretty much every single individual martial art there is, mate, and you can do it forever.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's a lifestyle, isn't it?
It is an art, yeah.
And I hope my son will have a choice. He'll watch this back maybe one day when he's older and think, "Oh, sure, Dad." But yeah, like he's doing it until he's at least 16, 18. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically, I've tried all martial arts, and for me, that's just by far the best for self-defense, but also confidence, and it teaches you a lot. Like, it humbles you a lot, because you don't win everything, do you? You're gonna, whether you win everything in competition. All the guys like the best in the world, the Dana Hardev squad. These guys, they may win everything in the comps, but they will be losing in the gyms and stuff. Whether you're Shark Tanked and then you lost because you're tired, but so you learn so much more than just martial arts with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specifically.
I think it's the best one for giving you life lessons, because you're constantly having to better yourself and overcome obstacles all the time. Like, you're a white belt, and then, all right, your goal is really as a white belt. You want to tap out a blue belt, don't you? And then you can't see anything for that, but then you're getting battered by someone that's done it for about a month. Do you know what I mean? And then you constantly, it's just levels to it, isn't there? But you're constantly having to dig deep, and there's times when you come off the mat thinking, fucking hell, like, what just happened? Then you go the next day, you come off that's absolutely buzzing, and it's just that constant cycle, isn't it, really?
Yeah, constant growth, mate. It really is. And I think I still think there's a lot of legitimacy to a black belt in BJJ now, where, without being disrespectful to other martial arts, I think that a lot of it's been lost in some of the other arts. I don't know if you agree.
I might 100% agree. 100%. You can buy a black belt online now. Do you know what I mean? You can in some cases.
Go do a day course and be a black belt or something.
Yeah. But mate,
there's still a lot of legitimacy to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. You know,
mate, it's 10 years of hard graft, and the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Like Neil says, you get found out on the mats.
That's it, mate. If you get given away, how embarrassing if you're traveling around, you know, and then just pop into a gym. Oh yeah, I'm a black belt, and then you get smashed up by a blue belt. It shouldn't happen. It doesn't happen really. I don't know any black belts who aren't deserving of a black belt. Put it like that. So
not at all. But mate, like you were thrown like your first week MMA, was it first month MMA sessions? You were training for like, probably one of the only UFC fighters out of Birmingham at that point. Vaughan, I don't know if he was in the UFC when you started, but
at that point he wasn't in the UFC. At that point he wasn't at the UFC. But yeah, he was killing it on the regional scene, and later on he did go to the UFC, and he had a bit of a mixed bag record. But he was for sure at that point. Him, Harvey Hara, Paul Taylor. These were the local lads around here that were just known, you know, for being the kind of best martial artist, skilled martial artist in mixed martial arts for sure. So I've been very lucky, really. I got thrown in the deep end straight away, and so I don't beat myself up too much because of the level that now I now understand the level of how good Vaughan Lee was when I got beat up by him. So I think actually, when I used to, oh God, actually. It was a proper test. It wasn't just like an anybody, you know.
Yeah. Have you tried with Vaughan since though? Years down the line, once you got your skill set up there.
Nah, I kick his ass if I see him there. Do you know what? We keep in touch a little bit, but I think I wrestled with him. Probably about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago at Fearless, and still sharp, man. He's like, you know, he keeps his tone. He's like one of the head coaches now out in Thailand now, isn't he? At one of the MMA gyms. But he comes back and stuff, and the Birmingham scene at the moment, you know, it's just on fire, isn't it? I would go as far as saying it's probably the biggest and highest level amount of fighters in any area, you know.
It's got to be.
London has some, but it just seems in Birmingham, it's just the talent is unbelievable. You know, so I'm proud to be part of that. So
we'll touch on that in a sec, mate. But I want to talk about a little bit more about your career. So where did it go from there? Where did you go from the amateur days to the pros to where you are now? Talk to me a little bit through that kind of journey that you've been on.
Yeah, so as I say, around 22, 23, I started, and I fell in love with it, and it was a constant battle with my dad to say. I remember about 2 years into my progress, I think I'd had 1 or 2 amateur fights, and I'd won them both, and you know it was a little bit hype as an amateur for me. And I remember watching Bama on the telly, like Bama 6 or something like that, and my dad went to me, "Do you ever think you'll be good enough to get there?" And I went, "Well, I believe so. I hope so. I think I will." And I did, and surpassed that, if you like. But at the time, it was like that was a big goal for me, and I felt like if I could say that I was fighting on Bama to my dad, he'd finally not that he controlled me, that's the wrong thing, but you know, we'd started a business together.
Yeah, you took a big risk.
Yeah. So for him to know that I'm serious, I felt like when I got to that Bama level, he would know I was serious, and I did. And I had my debut on there against a fellow Gracie Barha guy, Stephen Martin, up in Derby, and that was my second pro fight, which I think was 7 years ago. And at that point, I was still working 5 days a week. I think that was it was 7 years ago, and I was like, "Right, Dad, look, I'm on Bama now. I'm matched up. You know, I've got the not certificate, the what do you call it? The poster. I've got the poster. Me and Stephen Martin was like, it's real now. I'm here." I was like, "Are you gonna like let me start working 3 days a week now and stuff?" And he was like, "Yeah." And he just went like that as I went on then, and I got on Cage Warriors, and I got about 5 or 6-0 in my career. I pretty much was just working 2 or 3 half days a week. I'd even go as far as saying when I was in camp, I was full training pretty much, and then out of camp I'd go and do a bit of work and stuff, get a bit of money in, because early level pros in most sports don't get paid very well, so I had to keep my toe in. And yeah, that it's just escalated, mate. And I had a good journey and a lot of experience, a lot of lessons learned, a lot of great wins, as you said. I've had some good knockouts against some high caliber guys. I remember fighting on a show called FCC, Martin Delaney, a Scottish kid. At the time, he was ranked 10-1. He'd only lost to Hadzovic, who was in the UFC, to a decision on Cage Warriors. And everyone just wrote me off. I barely made weight. And you looked at us both on the scales. He looked like a Greek god, and I looked like death. And I think everybody just wrote me off. And I went in there, mate, and I knocked him out first round. And I think that's when people realised, like, you can't really judge this man by how he looks, because I look like a skinny fat kid with ginger hair. Like, do you know what I mean? You know, so and then that's when I started incorporating a lot of more, serious training. So it was like a structured training, strength and conditioning. I didn't work then. And yeah, it just kind of went onwards and upwards from there. And I say there's been a few stumbles along the way. I got caught by Alexander Jakobsen on Cage Warriors.
Cage Warriors, yeah.
A very frustrating fight that was, but a very important lesson learned. He's a solid fighter, but he'll tell you himself, I was pinging his head off, moving all over the place. Yeah. I was on fire, mate, and literally the first punch he landed knocked me out. I went down. I felt like I'm going to go off, got up, and could have carried on. But to be honest, I was concussed from it, so it definitely it was a good stoppage. And so there's been a couple of like instances like that through my career, but overall, I'm very happy with what I've achieved, and I still believe I haven't given my best yet.
Yeah.
So.
What's been the favourite fight of your career so far?
I really enjoy. It was one of my toughest fights, but I really enjoyed fighting Mikel Lebeau on
Cage Warriors again. That was just before the Jakobsen fight, wasn't it? That was the fight. Yeah. I think that's when I just first started training at WS1 back then.
Yeah. He was obviously a UFC vet, very tough. He'd fought at lightweight and welterweight, so he was a big guy. And it was just a great fight. I just felt like I had instances where I was in some real adversity in that fight. He had a full mount on me, kind of like an S mount. I was on my side and he's smashing my head with elbows. He had my back at one point, he landed some good shots. He took me down, but I showed adversity, come through and really put on a striking clinic against him. I also had a really good fight a bit earlier on in my fight against Damian Brown on Cage Warriors. And a few got people in the scene still say that's one of the best ever fights on Cage Warriors ever. I don't know if you've seen that. I think that was my fourth fight. Worth a watch, mate. It's full 15 minutes, but it was a cracking fight. Real back and forth. He's really tough guy, Australian guy, Damian Brown. He went on to the UFC after that, but not after that fight. I think he got a couple more wins and then he went on later on. But those two fights, I felt like were my best performances, and really, really cracking, entertaining fights. Because I like to have a scrap, I like to have a good scrap.
What's been your favourite knockout then, mate? 'Cause I'm thinking now the fights that I've seen, the Dizzy one, that up kick was unbelievable. He was out then, weren't he?
Yeah, I mean,
he kicked him. He was out then, weren't he? Oh, yeah. And the wheel kick.
Yeah, a rewarding knockout, and I felt like a lot of people were doubting me against Martin Delaney. So knocking him out in the first round, it was more like a TKO. I dropped him in the first round, and I dropped him again, and I swarmed him. That was a really kind of,
fulfilling kind of,
fulfilling knockout for sure. I only had one loss as an amateur. Against Jefferson George. I fought him on Bama. I didn't knock him out, but I stopped him with a cut. That was a really rewarding win, because it was my only loss as an amateur, and that haunted me. If I could go back and fight all my losses as a pro, I definitely would. Like, that'd be the next fight I took, just because of that competitiveness. But I would say the most entertaining and knockout, and probably the best one, was the spinning wheel kick, just because it kind of went a bit viral, and I set it up. I knew I could land it, within the fight. It wasn't like I've just randomly thrown it and, caught it. I set it up. I baited him. I used the geography to get him, used my skills to get him to the edge of the cage. And I knew I was going to land it. You never know whether it's going to knock him out. But I mean, I don't know if you've ever held the pads for someone with a good one. There's some real force in it. And when you connect with that heel, it's a devastating blow. So I'd say that one.
You have a lot of confidence to throw them kind of shots as well in the fights, mate. And it just shows the reward is worth it.
Yeah, you know I mean? 100%. Again, it's what you do in the gym is what you're going to do in your fight. There's no lie about it, So where you see Khabib smashing the bag, ground and pound drills, and that's why him and Velasquez train very similar. They're just the cardio beasts, aren't they? When they get on top of you, and they just maul you. They just go for days. Like, you do what you do in the gym, and I've always done and favoured striking. I would say really until the last kind of 2 to 3 years, it's just. And John Roberts, my previous head coach, was a very good striking coach as well. So, because I favoured it, he favoured it. It kind of was like that was we would like 70-80% of the week would be striking work, and we were very creative with it and always playing with it. So, yeah.
How did it feel then when Bellator come calling? Like, what was your dad's reaction at the time as well? Because again, you kind of seen your career, and then you're on billboards in Birmingham, everything, mate.
Yeah, I mean, he probably wouldn't admit it, but he's super proud of me. I know he is. Like, they're always at every fight. I've got a very good fan base and very loyal. If you book me on a show, you're going to sell 100 tickets, 150 tickets every show, whether that's London or Scotland. You put me on a show in Wolverhampton, I'm going to sell 300 tickets.
The venue's done in it, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm very lucky like that. But so they were just ecstatic, and they were also I was very proud, and they were very proud and stuff. But it's like I felt a bit like I always knew I would get there, and I know I've got a lot more to give. I still believe I'll be Bellator champion, and I wouldn't do this if I couldn't be that. If I didn't have that 100% belief. So when it come, it was like I kind of knew it would come at some point, but it's like it's a nice pat on the back, isn't it? It's all the sacrifice, all the hard work, all the discipline, all the parties you didn't go to, the holidays you missed, the socials, the friends that you lose on the way, the family that you lose on the way, all that, it makes it worth it, because you knew at the start that you could get there, and then you get there, and it's like, yes. I'm okay with all that now that I've left behind and I've missed because I'm here. You know what I mean? That's how it felt for me. And I think the people closest to me, like, my partners, my mum and dad, Quinn will understand when he's older. They know, and they feel it with you because they've seen what you do, what you sacrifice, what you go through. I feel myself getting a bit emotional, man. Like, but it's been hard, mate. It's been a hard 6 months, man. This. I wouldn't wish this injury on anyone, mate. On my worst enemy.
What did you actually do to it?
I tore my ACL and MCL. So I was 4 weeks out from a fight. So I was due to fight Chris Bungard in Milan last year. I don't know if you remember the Bellator Milan where they did about 2 or 3 in a row. Yeah, I was due to fight him on there, and I moved to Renegade. I was on fire, mate, and I was just so ready to go and so ready to show everyone how I'd leveled up. And 4 weeks out, just incident happened in sparring, and tore my ACL, MCL. I was very lucky that I got in and got seen quick by a very good specialist, and I had the surgery September. Like I said, I'm now. Sorry, the emails just flashed up, and now I'm now. 6 months post-op and getting there, but it has been a tough journey, man. People need to train smart. People need to look after the body. If you can make injury prevention is a real thing. You should train to keep flexible, to be strong in all ranges, give yourself the best chance for sure. And that's something that I applied later on in my career, working with Andy Caldwell from Active Therapy. I would say about 7-8 years we've been working together, but I know, I was always the warm up dodger, the cool down dodger, the stretching dodger. That was me until I started working with him. So important.
What changes are you going to make then when you come back? What the lessons that you've learned from this? So when you start getting back to training again at Team Renegade, WS1, etc., what changes are you going to make that you've learned from this?
Well, it was a freak accident. Let me start with it wasn't it wasn't anything that I or my training partner did wrong. It was a bit of an accident. So, but without this happening, I would never have discovered the gymnastics training that I've been doing. So you've probably seen it quite a bit. I'm posting quite a bit. So when this happened, and I knew I was going to have a period of 9 months to 18 months where I couldn't fight, potentially, I thought, well, I know what I'm like. I've got to keep busy, man. And I'm so used to training 2-3 times a day, every week, like, as you know. So I was like, what else can I do? I looked at me as a whole, and for this first 6 months, what can I do? Well, I couldn't do anything for the first 2 months other than the rehabilitation. But for the last 4 months, what can I do alongside my rehabilitation? Well, the gymnastics that I've been doing has been very focused on core and upper body. I was able to do that, and I've implemented that, and it's done wonders for my body. It's changed all my posture. It's opened up all my joints, my grip strength, my core strength, my upper body strength. I've finally got some kind of like shoulders and some arms. I've always had dead gangly, skinny arms. So that's really helped, and my understanding of my body from doing that, and also it's how it will implement into my return to sport. I'm excited to get back to grappling and wrestling for sure. My grip strength, my pulling strength with the upper body work we do has got so much better. So that'll be staying in my training. I shan't be able to do as much of it as I have been, but that was only because I couldn't do martial arts. So as I've introduced striking back in these last couple of months, the gymnastic work's come down a little bit. And next week, as I implement grappling, it'll have to come down a bit more. But this is where you have to find that balance where you need to smash. See, I'm already, as you like, a veteran or an experienced fighter, but I'm always still learning and still growing skill-wise. So, and I get a lot of my strength and conditioning from doing the skill work and the technical work and the sparring. So, at the moment, if that's the line, that's where I'm at the minute. It's very little martial arts, all strength work, all, and mobility, flexibility, stretching, gymnastics. That's just going to do that now. It's around there now.
Yeah.
It's going to go like that. And, I'll keep the gymnastics in for sure. I can really see it. And that's something that I'll be able to do when I'm finished fighting as well. Well, I want to be 50, man, doing muscle up still. And you see guys do it when they really apply themselves. If you have a competitive nature like I do, you can, I think you can extend your quality of life and your health through gymnastics, not so much through being punched in the head in MMA.
But what's his name? Danny Nasanto, Bruce Lee's first ever student, his top student. He says what he'd change would be his flexibility. He'd stretch more because the first things to go on a horse is its legs. And to me, that was that makes perfect sense.
I honestly, if I would give one tip to any young, well, not even fighter, like anyone, just stretch, man. Like, I've watched I've read the David Goggins books, listened to his podcast, and it saved his life. I don't know if you've listened to it yourself.
Yeah, it's really good.
Stretching pretty much saved his life. And do you know what the thing is? It doesn't have to be like, it shouldn't have to be that you find this out later on in life or too late. We could, if everybody stretched, like gymnasts and ballerinas and dancers, that flexibility is the hardest to gain, but it stays with you the longest. So you'll see 70-year-old ballerinas or whatever that were super flexible and they had a good ballerina career. They'll just pick the leg up like that, like it's nothing. Like, it stays with you forever, but it's the hardest to gain. And it's obviously, as you get tighter and your muscles get bigger and you work them more, it's harder to gain it later.
Do you think the gymnastics make stretching fun and more difficult? Kind of because when you're stretching before class, you're thinking, man, like, it's a bit boring, isn't it? You want to get straight in there into action, but you find the gymnastics training that you've been doing is challenging, and it's giving that kind of, it feels like you're doing more than stretching, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't put it all down to the gymnastics because I've done yoga for about 2 or 3 years now. And I was very much like you, and I still am sometimes. I just want to fight, man. I just want to kick and punch things and wrestle. But I understand the importance of it now. But, you know, I implemented hot yoga into my training about 2 to 3 years ago. And yeah, it's hard. You know, I would look at it and be like, oh, stretching for an hour, this is going to be a piece of piss. And I'd go there and I'd be fucked. I wouldn't be able to do my next session later on because I'd be that fucked from yoga. It's seriously hard, mate. And that's the same. Anything is as challenging as you can make it, as you want it to be. You know, if you go on the assault bike is the best tool for that. You know, the air
murder. Yeah.
Well, if you jump on one of them, mate, anyone can jump on at any level of fitness. You could be the most elite CrossFit person in the world who use them all the time, or Joe Boggs from the pub. Like, you get found out on there. You can go on there and you can pretend that you're working, but if you actually work, it makes you sick. You know, it's an horrible tool, and that's like anything. I could say that I stretch every day and do an hour putting my leg out there, or I could do. If I do 20, I actually do 30 minutes a night every night, and I push myself in it, and it's hard, you know. So that's what the gymnastics does. Having a coach there watching me saying, do this, stretching me out as well, and putting me in these awkward positions. You know, my range in my shoulders is so much better, my posture, and I feel like I'll be at less risk of being injured, you know. And I think there's a common trend, you know, from chatting to Wes, the coach. A lot of MMA fighters have really tight chests, really tight biceps.
Constantly like this, and we're grappling,
like
we're constantly
grappling, squeezing, wrestling. Bro.
Even when you're padding your teammates, you're constantly like that as well.
Yeah, this gymnastics opens you up, frees you up, and it's really good. I feel great since doing it, and it was Tom Breeze who recommended it to me.
Yeah.
And you've seen the exceptional athlete that he is.
He's a true martial artist, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's a good guy. He's, you know, I'm excited to get back to work with him.
I suppose that's what you're looking for, isn't it? You're looking for longevity in your career. And like you said, you're now working with Tom Breeze at Team Renegade. Have you found that? Because like we've said before, Birmingham is, I'd say it is the best place for MMA in the UK.
I would have to agree. You know, I guess we're both slightly biased, but I would fully have to agree with you there. You know, the amount of talent here is unreal. And not just that, like, it's coming from all around the local areas. It's all coming to be. You know, I noticed I've trained with Jordan Vacenik quite a lot at Fourth Dimension up Loughborough, the old Rough House. He's a great kid. I was so happy when he won the belt. But I've seen he's coming to Fearless now. He's coming and wrestling with Canby. You know, so guys are coming from out in here to get this quality training. You've got so many good coaches in the area with the wrestling, Canby, Renegade with the MMA team, and Fearless. Damien Trainer, one of the best Thai boxers. There's some real
Braulio Estima,
exactly
IDCC champion,
probably arguably the best ever. You know, so there's heaps of talent here. So, but yeah, you're going back to Renegade. Look, I love it there, mate. You know, it was a bit daunting making the move there at first, but you know, give it a few weeks. I was accepted into the team. I obviously bring a lot when I come to the team as well with the experience I have. So it's good for them. And yeah, I just threw myself straight in there, mate. Like I did. It was like starting MMA all over again, you know.
Really?
Really rejuvenated me, and the growth that I had in those 6 months, because it was a very sporadic year I was in there, we was on January, February, March, COVID. No gyms allowed. So then I was running and cycling and just doing sit-ups and stretching. And then it was like, all right, April or May, we can get back in now. A small group train elite athletes. So we was in helping Joy get ready for his Trinaldo fight. So May, June, July, August, snapped my leg. So I got a total of about fucking 6 or 7 months. But the growth that I had in that time, phenomenal. you know, and that's just there waiting for me. And that growth's still with me. I just haven't shown anyone yet, you know?
Yeah.
So,
One of the biggest things I've always said, you're a product of your environment. And you
Yeah.
look at the guys that you're surrounding yourself with throughout your whole career, but now you are again at Renegade. You list some of the names. Do you know what I mean? So the levels, and you got to like strive, constantly strive every day at that gym.
Mate, you know, I've trained with all levels and all guys and all aspects of martial artists, and you know, I think people already know this anyway, but Leon Edwards will be the champion of the world for sure. He is. He's just an absolute specimen, and you know, he's a really, really good martial artist. I believe Tom Breeze has it in him to be UFC champion. He get a couple of wins together now. He'll be in that top 10. He's right there. Just the caliber of guys there is unreal. Like I'm very fortunate that I'm able to go and mix it up with them, and you know, I think like as you said, iron sharpens iron, doesn't it? You know, we're all working together. We're all chasing that same dream. Very, very helpful. So I can't wait to get back in that mix. I think I'll probably be back in with them guys maybe around June time. So I shall start grappling next week. As I say, it's middle of April now. Give me a good 6 to 8 weeks grappling. Get some conditioning back for it. Know that my leg's good and stuff, and I shall be heading back over there.
Do you set, because your goal, Bellator world champion, do you know what I mean? Leon Edwards' goal, UFC world champion, Fabian, everyone at that gym, you all want to be world champions. So now yourself, when you come back, you beat Charlie Leary in your fight before. Have you got like a pathway in your head now? You think, okay, I've got to beat him to get to him, beat him to get to him. What's your kind of like thought process now? You're kind of like visualizing the pathway to get there.
Yeah, for sure. I seen that Bellator released their rankings recently. I don't know if you spotted those, I looked at the lightweight rankings at the top 10. So they're just doing it the top 10 for each division, and Alfie Davis was number 8.
That was number 8, fighting, weren't you?
Who I was due to fight, last year in May, but COVID again cancelled it. So, you know, the matchmaker from Bellator texted me about 2 weeks ago asking out for an update, which was great. And I said to him, you know, tell Alfie to keep my seat warm because I'm coming for that top 10 spot. Love it. So, you know. The way I see it is I need to prove that I'm the best in Europe first, and whether that's beating Alfie, if they think it's him, whether that's beating Sorenbach, whether that's beating Peter Keeley, any of these guys, mate, I respect them. You know, I'm not disrespectful about them, but I believe that I can beat them. And to do that, I'll just have to get in there and do that. So we just make that happen. And when I do, you know, I'm undeniably number 1 in Europe. It's like I need to fight these guys. I think you've got the likes of Ben Henderson, Miles Jury, Brent Primus. You know, I know our last outing went the way it did. I believe that, you know, come a year, 18 months training with the team that I'm at now and move, you know, that wouldn't happen again. But, you know, so yeah, just got to get to that number 1 European spot. Beat a couple of these Americans, and just
you're the best striker. You're the best striker in the division. You can any of them on their feet. They're in your world. Yeah. I mean, Alfie's a great striker.
He is, and I'll give him credit. He's a very good striker, and I think when we got matched up, it was like, oh, now we're going to see who is the best striker in the country, and it would be a great fight. I think he'd take me down. I think he would take me down because, I see I see where his holes are in his game, and I see what he doesn't like, and I'll be on that like a rash. And you know, I think he's got good wrestling. You know, he's not just a striker. Like I'm not just a striker, but we both prefer to strike. And what tends to happen, like look at Usman and Colby Covington, both great wrestlers. They ended up having a boxing match.
Yeah.
Me and Alfie will end up rolling around for 15 minutes probably. Who knows, mate? But I'm prepared, and well, I will be prepared when the time comes. And yeah, I just can't wait to be back in there, mate. Like you said, the first thing I did when I got the green light for grappling was ring Neil and tell him I'm coming to his house to grapple him right now. So, and the feeling I'm going to get from that first roll, and then that's going to be like with everything, the first MMA spar, but then that first walk to the cage and win. I don't believe in ring rust. So yeah, it might have been 18 months, 2 years since my last fight. By the time I get in there, I don't believe in it. I believe if you prepare yourself properly, mentally and physically, I might have to shake it off a little bit the first minute, but I'll be soon in that fight. Don't worry about it. So.
What is that ring walk like? What goes through your head?
Well, I work with the English hypnotist, as you know, and he prepares me for that, and he's very good with that. And I've always been a bit like early on in my career, I've had mixed walkouts. So I've walked out and been shitting myself, to be honest with you. But then I've walked out like Johnny Ten Men, thinking I'm going to smash this guy. So I think it depends on how your camp's gone and the caliber of opponent you're fighting, etc. I walked out to Dizzy knowing I was going to knock him out, and I'd actually dreamt that I was going to knock him out with a flying knee, and I landed one in the fight, and it didn't finish him. I hit him with I think a right hand after that finished him. But it's I think it's all down to your preparation. But I always feel excited. It's so many emotions you can't even explain it. It's like excited, kind of apprehensive to get in there and just do it. Like as I get closer, I feel more fueled. I feel pumped. Like I can feel that fight or flight kicking in, and it's so strange when it all happens really quick as well. The readout, and Tim Wilde fighting out so and so, and Joe Bloggs so and so, and then you just hear ding ding, and then it's like, oh shit, I'm in a fight.
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes I've always been renowned for being a bit of a slow starter, and that's something I've worked on to kind of try and change. And Charlie Leary actually capitalised on that really well. And he said to me after the fight, he knew that I started slow, and he just put it on me quick, man. He caught me, and then put me on my arse. And, so that's something I've worked on. I've kind of ironed out now, as people will see when I get back in there.
Yeah. Mate, that was insane, that first round with Charlie Leary. Sorry to interrupt you. That was crackers.
Yeah, that was another great fight of mine.
Yeah.
It was a really back and forth fight. He's a very experienced guy. I believe that Charlie Leary is a much harder fight than Alfie Davis, But yeah, so
yeah, he beat Keith Crosby as well recently. One of his last fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. See, if you get into a war with Charlie, he's as tough as nails, mate. You won't put him away. I didn't think I would knock Charlie Leary out. I thought there was a chance I could submit him if I got on top, but he's very good. He's very good, and like we've got we're not just strikers as we were always known for. We are all round MMA fighters now, and we can wrestle, and we've got good jits games and.
How much do you reckon your wrestling's come on?
Well, that's the biggest thing that's come on, to be honest, at Renegade. It's like like you said, you're a product of environment, and they're all like Leon Edwards teaches the wrestling and stuff, and it's so good. He's so elite, and mate, just wrestling with him on the wall is an experience in itself. If you can even get a hand to nearly post up or a knee. If you can get up, like that's a win, man. Like I remember when I first started there, and he's like a blanket on you. You can't do anything, and kind of towards just as I was preparing for my fight, I remember getting little wins against him, like, I might get back up, just even if just get up just for a second, and he puts you back down. It's like, that's a massive win for me. Like, so that's how I measure myself, with how I do with my training partners, because it ain't like those are just normal blokes. These are like the best in the world. So when I measure myself against them and see little increments where I've done better, or where I'm not doing so good, it helps me guide me where I need to focus my training. But it's a way of measuring myself, So.
How important are those little wins?
Massive, mate. They help. As I say, it's the measure. It shows you that you're progressing with the team. And just to touch on that previous question, that's one of the biggest things I feel I've improved is my wrestling and just overall MMA awareness of how to fight from being there. And, kind of get me back in the mix there. And, if I get in the cage at the end of the year, I'm going to be adding another 6 months to that again. Yeah. So, and that's just going to keep going up, mate. I feel so young, I'm 34 this year, but I feel like all this move to Renegade, this adding gymnastics to my game, it's adding longevity, it's adding like a rejuvenating me. I feel really young and hungry, fresh. Yeah. So, the injury was just an unfortunate incident, but I'm going strong. Yeah, really am, mate. I can't wait to get back in there. You see, most of these guys are in their 30s, their mid 30s, they're in their prime. And I think with MMA, it is a bit later on that you are hitting your prime. Like
look at DC, like 40.
Exactly, yeah. And I think Charlie Leary's 38, and me and him just had a right war. So you might lose that ability to bounce out of bed in the morning like you can when you're 21, and you can go out drinking all night, get up, train all day. You might lose that, but you just learn to train a little bit smarter. So you learn how to. I learned how to train as a 33-year-old and not a 21-year-old. Do you know what I mean? So I'm always thinking about longevity in the sport, but also in my health and in afterwards as well when I'm done fighting, which I think is important for fighters.
What do you want to do when you finish fighting? Coaching?
Yeah, I would like to set up my own team. I think there's so much talent in the Midlands that there's if you look in Birmingham, you've got like Renegade and Fearless are the two main MMA teams. But where we are, I'm not sure where you live, sorry, but like around Warsaw and Wolverhampton and the West Midlands, there's not many big teams. You have UTC, but that's more like Staffordshire way. So I think there's like opportunities, and everyone knows me around here, Wolverhampton, Warsaw, West Midlands. I think there is opportunities for an MMA team here, and I enjoy it. I used to coach quite a lot kickboxing and karate and stuff, so I do enjoy it, and I really enjoy teaching like fighters, and I really enjoy. Someone who, I mean, you'll know this from teaching anyone, anything. Someone who wants to learn, the reward you get from teaching them is massive, So I'm going to have to think about it more, but I definitely believe, I think I'll keep my toe in Gracie Barra and perhaps put a gi on and look at competing with that. But, I should definitely like to pass on my striking knowledge, but also just MMA knowledge. So whether that's a full MMA gym, whether that's a striking coach at a gym, who knows? But I should be involved with martial arts until I cannot physically or mentally be anymore.
It's your life, isn't it?
I love it, mate. Yeah. I love it.
You have to start again then, Tim. What advice would you give to a 16-year-old Tim Wilde?
Stretch.
Yeah.
I think this sounds like I didn't do it, and I believe I did, but the advice I would give any 16-year-old starting martial arts is listen to your coaches, listen to your team, think about injury prevention and longevity in the sport, and train your skills as much as you can. Being able to do sprints, they're good. Being able to lift big weights, really, you've been able to do muscle ups. All those things are cool, but nothing's going to beat, doing the skill, being able to punch good, being able to block, being able to kick, being able to grapple, being able to wrestle.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. What about finish on, Tim? I love speaking today, mate. And again, your story, what you've come back through, inspirational. And when you hit that top of the mountain, Bellator world champion, you look back on this, mate. You probably you won't laugh. You might laugh, but mate, for your kid to look back on, for Quinn to look back on, unbelievable.
Thank you, mate. It's all part of the journey, and it all makes it worthwhile.
Absolutely, bro. Thank you for coming on, Tim Wilde, ladies and gentlemen.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to hit the follow button, and if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the notifications button so you don't miss out on my latest episode. And for more martial arts content, follow me on Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. Just follow @martialartswithjake.